You know, I've been trying to get onto TikTok Live to discuss this really since Tuesday, since the election, and every TikTok Live has been jammed with people, all people in shock and dismay, and basically people asking, how did this happen? Well, I'm a never Trumper. I voted every year, and I've realized our loss in the election is our own fault. We, the Democrats. It's because we screwed up and we drove away everyone else, including independent voters. And that's why there were 64 million votes in this election versus 81 million in 2020, while Trump had the same number of votes that he got in 2020. I learned a hard lesson from this, and I should have learned this at least back in 2016. What happened Tuesday was the culmination of almost 4 years of epically bad messaging by the Biden administration. They failed to counter all of the Republicans smearing him with inflation and many other things that they really should have been on top of. And yes, this was a worldwide problem. It wasn't one of their own making. That's a big part of why there was so much hate for the Biden administration. Let's go Brandon. And in many respects, that was uncalled for. And while installing Kamala Harris may have inspired many Democrats, we had already lost the independents. We were essentially preaching to an echo chamber, a big echo chamber, yes, but nonetheless, it was not one that appealed to anyone other than ourselves. And Biden also screwed the Democratic Party by not sticking with the original plan of being a one-term president, and he made no provisions to groom a successor until it was far too late. And we were swept along with that. Does that mean the majority of America would rather accept a traitor, a racist, a rapist felon than the status quo offered by the Democrats? Yes, it does. That's the lesson I've learned. And this is the result. Since it's almost certainly likely that the 2028 election is going to be canceled, we're going to be facing the consequences of this for a long time. Now, a friend of mine stated several years ago that people don't want the status quo. They need something new. And the Democrats didn't offer that. We haven't been saying that even since 2016. We've simply been running on one thing: orange man bad. They've been taunting us with that. I mean, that's about all we can say. And all we've had to offer them is the status quo that we've had since Obama, who I've proudly voted for. Now, what has the status quo given the average person here in the United States? What has it given them since at least the 2008 recession? The status quo has given people shit jobs that they can't live on, apartments and homes with staggering costs that they can't afford to live in, and now food prices that are too high to feed their families. And America, not Republicans, desperately need things to change, and we, the Democrats, have not offered that. All we've offered was the status quo. And yes, Biden did indeed bring manufacturing jobs back into America. And yes, Kamala Harris did say she would work to bring down food prices. But that's not the platform that they were primarily running on. Both she and Biden were running on this: vote for me because I'm not Trump. There were 64 million votes for Democrats in 2024 versus 81 million in 2020, and that's because 2020 was an emergency. People weren't voting for Biden, they were voting against Trump because he had massively screwed up with the pandemic. If he had handled that properly, he would have been reelected. Once things got back to normal, however, then that means the Democrats, including me, we ran again against Trump rather than offering something different. And America didn't want that. They didn't want it to the point where 15 million people didn't vote for the Democrats. They didn't vote, or they voted for Jill Stein or a third-party candidate, or even they voted for Trump. That's what the election says, and like it or not, that's a fact. I personally accepted the status quo because I did feel it was better than the alternative. And considering that now that we have the alternative, I'm still not sure if it's better than the status quo. However, I am definitely in the minority with this opinion, and this was shown on Tuesday when the majority won. We've been living in a banana republic for a while now, and I just didn't realize it. So all I can do is try to survive it as best as I can and try to protect the people who are close to me. The next few years, however many they're going to be, because it's not going to end in 2028, the next few years are going to be rough. We now have an openly corrupt president presiding over a congressional majority of kiss-asses who worship him, and now he's supported by a Supreme Court that has given him the powers of a dictator, as they've been quoted. And what's more, it's likely we won't be having fair elections anymore because of this. So, as Democrats, the only way we can overcome this and defeat them now is to appeal to the vast majority of America by using a message that's different from what we've been running on since 2016. Yes, Trump is corrupt. That's a given. As you can see, running on that has not worked. The message we need to give to America is this: we will help you. We'll help you to keep a roof over your head and feed your family and give you a good job and give you education and health care that you can afford. The hell with Trump. What's important is helping you. Now, maybe this is a conspiracy, but here's also what could happen in 2028. Because being a fascist obviously works, the Democrats could very well run a candidate who is also a fascist. The Supreme Court ruling that gave Trump the power he wants will never be removed, and whoever is elected will then rule like a fascist. There are people on TikTok Live right now saying that Biden should use that power to do something or another, and that proves that that Supreme Court ruling will never be rescinded. Think of I, Claudius.